Hey everyone, it's Jess. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I am super excited about. David and I live an almost zero waste lifestyle, which means that we accumulate very little trash in our household. And this is something that has been a goal of mine for a really long time, and I have kind of been stumbling around doing research on different things that I could cut down on and things that don't really work, things do work, and trying a bunch of different stuff. And I have figured out what works for me. So I kind of wanted to make this video to introduce all of you to a lifestyle that you may not have heard before. It's so easy and it makes a huge impact, especially when people come over to the house and they see what we do differently and they see how easy it is. Once you kind of get the hang of it, then they tend to make cut downs in their own household too. It's mostly me, but David does participate and I think appreciates what I do. But you know, even if not, that's a perfect example too of living in a household with someone who's not zero waste and how it still works. So technically, we only accumulate 1 bag of trash per month. We really do not accumulate a lot of trash, and it's just something that we've done, and I just want to show you guys. But first, I have to show you something else that happened today. This is Pitbull's. He is a foster puppy. He's a Chiweenie, so he's a Chihuahua miniature dachshund mix. We're gonna keep him for a couple weeks until he gets adopted. So anyway, it's just, if you hear a little pitter-pattering around during this video, it's because of him, because he's running around and just being really, really cute and playing with toys and stuff. So if you hear a little pitter-patter, that's this little guy. Okay, let's get started. So I asked on Facebook this week if anyone had any questions about my zero waste lifestyle, and I kind of wanted to answer those questions and also put in some of my own add-ons to the questions. So my friend Tia asked 3 really amazing questions. The first one was, I think some interesting talking points might be the financial aspect of a zero waste lifestyle. Do you have to buy certain brands or go to certain stores, etc.? That is a really good question. I think I'm gonna do an entire video on zero waste shopping, like zero waste grocery shopping and clothes shopping and all of that stuff, because there is a lot to it that I've found that I just wasn't aware of before. The certain stores part, there's something called bulk stores or bulk shopping, and I'm not talking about Costco or Sam's Club or anything like that. There are stores like Whole Foods and Sprouts and a couple of other stores that have these giant bulk bins, and they're these big barrels, and they're labeled with what's inside, like oatmeal or flour or peanuts or anything like that, and it gives you the price per pound and a little code that you have to write for the cashier so they know what's inside of it. Most people live close to a store that has bulk bins. Not everyone does, and that can be kind of a problem when you're living a zero waste lifestyle if you don't live close to a bulk store. I do. I go to Sprouts. You can definitely go to Whole Foods, and there's a couple of other places. If you ever see in your grocery store they have those giant bulk bins, that's what it is. And what you do normally is they give you a little plastic bag and a twist tie, and you fill the plastic bag with whatever you're filling it with, let's say salt for example, and write the little code on the twist tie and bring it up to cash register and do it that way. That is not zero waste at all. That plastic bag cannot be recycled easily, and that twist tie is just useless because all it has is a 4-digit code on it that you can just tell the cashier or write it down yourself. So in order to do this zero waste style, you bring your own container. So this is the mason jar that I buy this salt in. And you take it over to the deli, or if they have a tare weighting system, then you can use that, and you get the tare weight. And all that means is you weigh the jar, find out how much it weighs, and then when you get to the cash register, they'll ask how much this container weighs, and then they'll subtract that from the total weight, and then you'll only pay for what you're buying. Honestly, to answer your first question of the financial aspect to it, the zero waste lifestyle is much, much, much cheaper than buying things that are disposable. This is a really easy example of the financial aspect of a zero waste lifestyle. This salt, not including the mason jar because you don't obviously have to pay for your own container, was only 73 cents, and it was filled all the way up to the top. I've used it since then. So that's just an example of how cheap living a zero waste lifestyle can be, because you're not paying for something disposable. Tia's second question was, does this lifestyle require supplies? It depends on what you use for your lifestyle, if that makes sense. So let me try to explain. I'm going to show you some of the basic things that I have in my house that help me with a zero waste lifestyle, and I'll kind of explain why the normal alternative for what I've got is wasteful. Like I said before, the mason jars cut out the use of plastic bags. Something else that cuts out plastic bags is these things. These things are called reusable produce bags. I got these from Earthwise. However, the grocery store that I shop at also carries these from like the Sprouts brand. You can find these in most, if not all, grocery stores, in pretty much anywhere in the aisles where they have those like standing racks that have like kids' toys on them. You can probably also find them up at the front when you're checking out. But these cut out the use of plastic produce bags, and they work really well. It's a drawstring and you just keep reusing them. I've never had to replace these. These work really well and they last a long time. Towels. Towels is a huge one. One of the most wasteful products that you could get are paper towels. Now, I will tell you that we do have paper towels in the house, and the only reason for that is I'm not gonna clean up, like if the dog gets sick on the floor or something, I'm not gonna use my kitchen towels for it. I'm gonna use something disposable. However, for like cleaning off the counter or drying off dishes or drying off your hands after you wash your hands, there's no need to go and grab a paper towel and go and throw it away or even recycle it. So if you are using paper towels, you know you can recycle those. This is an amazing alternative. We only buy one roll of paper towels every 6 months. And I know how hard that is to wrap your brain around if you use paper towels as like a daily thing, but it's because we have these, and I keep these in my kitchen. They work really well. I use these to clean everything. I have specific towels for the bathroom, so I don't have to use paper towels for that. Personally, I feel like paper towels are really self-explanatory, but I think that they can be a big problem for a lot of people. That takes care of the paper towel issue. Reusable grocery bags. So the only use that I have for disposable grocery bags is when I take my dogs out for a walk. And the way that I fix that issue, because I don't end up collecting any grocery bags, is I ask my friends if they have extras. Most people have like a giant box of plastic grocery bags in their kitchen that they're like never gonna go through in a million years, so I just steal some from them for my dogs. But for everything else, I use reusable grocery bags. For grocery shopping, for clothes shopping, you can fold these up really small and put them in your purse. I've got a bunch of reusable grocery bags, and that takes care of that issue. Another big throwaway item is Ziploc bags and cling wrap and that whole genre of food storage. So Tupperware works for that. I know this is plastic, and a lot of zero wasters try to stay away from plastic and they want glass, but I have perfectly fine plastic Tupperware that I'm just gonna use until it breaks or whatever, and then I'll replace them with glass. But Tupperware is a perfect solution for Ziploc bags or cling wrap or anything like that. Just throw whatever you need to store into a piece of Tupperware. And I'm gonna talk about this specific Tupperware in a minute with another question. A growler. So David and I live in Colorado. We live in a huge beer town, and beer is everywhere, and we want to drink all of it. So instead of buying 12 packs of like aluminum or glass containers of beer, whatever, we use growler. All over Fort Collins, they have like half off growler fill nights and all that stuff. All you do is you take this up to the bar and you ask for their growler menu, and they will fill whatever you want in it into this, and it lasts for like 2 or 3 days if you have one with a swing top. That works really, really well. These are little silicone travel containers that I bought at Walgreens. I make my own beauty products. This one is shampoo and this one is conditioner. And I'm gonna be making a video soon about DIY beauty products, because that is very separate from the other DIY products video that I made, because those were specifically cleaning. And those materials that I use in order to make these last a lot longer because I'm using them together than it does to just buy a bottle of shampoo and a bottle of conditioner and go through the thing and then recycle it afterwards. It's much, much, much better for you to make your own products if you can. This is a reusable water bottle that I bought at the thrift store. It works really well. It's stainless steel, so it's completely recyclable and it's very sturdy. I can drop it and it's gonna be totally fine. Plastic bottles are a huge waste. And I know how heartbreaking that is to hear for people that buy those giant 24 packs from Walmart all the time. And a lot of people are gonna tell me that you can just recycle the plastic bottle, and that is true. However, plastic can only be recycled once. So once that plastic bottle has been recycled and then reused, that reused one is not able to be recycled and broken down. It's only going to go to landfill and stay on the planet for virtually forever. So switching to one of these is huge. It's a huge impact for the environment. This is actually a replacement to my old water bottle, which was a BPA-free plastic, but I didn't want to use that one anymore. So I thrifted it, I donated it, and then I bought this from that same exact thrift store. So this was only 50 cents, and I went home and threw it in my dishwasher, and now I use it as my main container for water, both in the house and outside of the house too. Reusable water bottle. I cannot stress a reusable water bottle enough. This is huge if you want to make an impact and start living a zero waste lifestyle. So I know that was a lot to answer your question, Tia, of if you need supplies, but it's really up to your lifestyle. So those are kind of my like basic materials that I use for a zero waste lifestyle, but you don't need to go out and buy these like super fancy, like a compostable trash can or a compostable toilet or like any of that stuff if you don't want to. Obviously those things are great, but to start out with a zero waste life, you don't need to spend like $1,000 on this kind of stuff. Okay, Tia, on to your last question. How much time do you have to invest in a zero waste lifestyle? I think a lot of people think that this takes a lot of time or it's inconvenient somehow to do it this way. I'm going to answer this question very similarly to your last question. It is a lifestyle, and that's why it's called a zero waste lifestyle. This is what I'm used to, and because of that, I don't really have to invest any time into it. There are a couple of swaps that I've had to make that are, I guess, technically more time consuming. Like for example, I don't use my dryer for any of the months where there's no snow. So for like 8 months out of the year, I use my clothesline, and technically that takes longer to dry your clothes than it does in a dryer. So like I don't really have the option to like throw a pair of pants in the dryer in the morning that I'm going to work and then get on the road kind of thing. So I guess the best way to answer your question is there's an aspect of planning to things. Like for example, if you know you're a spontaneous shopper for like clothes or groceries or whatever, then you have to think and plan to keep reusable grocery bags in your car or in your purse or whatever. So when that moment does come, then you have something for it. But it really depends on your lifestyle and what you want out of it. Okay, moving on to my friend Elaine's question. She says, in regards to composting, what kind of storage do you need and what can you compost? So composting, if you don't know, is a really key point to zero wasting. All it means is that you find another avenue for your food scraps other than throwing it in the trash and sending that to landfill. Food scraps are incredibly useful when you compost it. Composting is a method of getting rid of your food scraps where it involves breaking down the food naturally and just kind of letting it sit and break down on its own, and then it turns into this really like nutritious soil that you can use in your garden, or you can sell it, or like do whatever you want with it. So I'll start from start to finish with composting. First, when I'm cooking, I have food scraps of like pieces of fruits and vegetables that I'm not going to eat, like the end of an onion or whatever. I throw it in this Tupperware, which is the one that I mentioned before. It's labeled Compost, and it's just a big Tupperware that I had when I started zero wasting, and all I do is I throw the food scraps that I'm not using into here, and when it's full, I take it outside into my composting pile. Now, you can definitely compost when you're in an apartment or a house. You don't have to have a yard or anything like that. I have a yard, so I compost in my yard. I found this really good infographic, I'll link it in the description, for how to compost. So you need some kind of container that you're going to keep your composting in. So for example, I have used a large trash can that I got at Walmart. If you're going to use something like that where everything is contained, then you need to drill holes into it in order to allow drainage, because if you don't have drainage, it's not going to compost at all. You can also free compost, I guess is what it's called, where I just have a pile in an unused corner of my yard, and that's where I put all of my compost. And the last question that I'm going to answer is from Sarah. She says, what are some beginner steps to a zero waste lifestyle? It doesn't seem like something I can jump straight into. So I've touched on a lot of things that you can kind of get started with in a zero waste lifestyle. I'm going to mention those again and then add a few more to some beginner steps that you can do if you want to start zero wasting. So a huge thing that you can do is start buying secondhand, buying from thrift stores. I buy all of my clothes from thrift stores because I am cheap and I have no shame in using used clothing. Buying things secondhand creates a huge impact. You're not contributing to the hugely wasteful industry that is the clothing industry. I have nothing against people that are in the clothing industry. However, a lot of it can be very wasteful. A lot of really poorly made products that are only meant to be worn like once or twice, maybe 3 times, and then thrown away after because they get holes in it or whatever. So buying secondhand definitely helps cut down on your waste in that regard, and then whenever you're done with something, you can just thrift it and donate it. One of the easiest beginner steps that I can tell you is to get a reusable water bottle. I know I touched on this earlier in the video, but this is so huge. Just get a reusable water bottle if you don't already have one. And then these 3 products, the reusable produce bags, the towels, and the reusable shopping bag. These 3 items are just so easy, and they're also really good beginner steps if you want to start and not feel overwhelmed. So those are all the questions that I'm going to answer today. I really, really hope that you found this video useful, and I'm definitely going to make more videos on things that you can make yourself that cut down on your consumption and cut down on your trash. Honestly, one of the biggest contributors to me and David starting to dive into this lifestyle was we just didn't want to pay that much for trash anymore. We were paying $40 a month for our trash, which to me is like ridiculous. It was for like the biggest container of trash and the biggest container of recycling. And now we only pay $10 a month for our trash. So it's just been a really exciting ride, and I'm still learning, and I love it, and it's just something that's really exciting. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, or if you want me to dive more into something, or if you want me to talk about something like completely different, like makeup or anything like that. I can talk about it all. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.